2020. Commissioner Offer will lead us in the pledge, and Commissioner Winters will say the blessing. If you would, please stand. Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Shall we pray? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you, first of all, for life, liberty that we have in this country. Thank you for the opportunity this weekend to celebrate the greatest event, not only the coming of your Son, dying of your Son, resurrection. Thank you. Thank you that as a nation do that. I ask you to bless our time together and be productive, follow your will. Those that put us in Christ's name. Pray.
Amen. Thank you. All right. Welcome, everybody. Going to our agenda. Mayor Davis, you are recognized for as much time as you need.
I got as much time as I need. Appreciate that, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to introduce Caleb Burris to you. He's a new accountant in our finance department. He's visiting with you for the first time today. Began sometime 1st of March. So, Caleb, welcome. You'll have fun in these meetings. Your credit card report, fire department didn't use it last month. They were late on their payment, though, so they did have a late charge. Assessor and Commissioner Winters, I skimmed through these a lot, but the red flags, the things that are in red, is the only thing I usually mention to you. But the assessor did use it locally, but they did have an explanation there, so all is good. The sheriff used it 3 times, all is good. The mayor used it twice, all good. EMA 3 times, all good. And it just dawned on me, seeing some of those in attendance, something you don't get in this report is we don't pay the credit card bill for the road department, so that's not included in this report. And that's all I have this time. Appreciate it.
Hey, Mayor, questions, Mayor? And going budget here in a second. Trustee, good to see you. There you go.
The trustee's office, as everyone knows, in February we're really busy, and we had a major piece of equipment go down on us. It's called a check reader, and in February we run approximately 5,000 checks through there, and it'd be almost impossible to do that manually. To make a long story short, it broke in February, and we had to get it fixed. And I worked with Mayor Davis to look within our budget at that point to see if we possibly had some money we could use. As you all know, my budget's very small, and I don't pad it. So really didn't have anything unless something else changed. So I had to spend $1,560 to get that machine fixed, and we took that money out of contracted services. The area contracted services was with our credit card company, and we didn't think, we've been negotiating with them, we're changing from Catalyst over to local government in hopefully 2 or 3 weeks. But we had $1,800 for this year, 24. We had already spent $1,800, had 18 left. I took $1,560 out of that 18. Well, now we've got billed by Catalyst for this year, which we weren't sure we were going to do. So I didn't have that budgeted to repair that piece of equipment, and I request that $1,560 be put in line 399 in the trustee's account, other contracted services, to cover that repair.
All right, so the trustee had you've already purchased the equipment, right?
Yeah, everything's fixed. We just need to put the money back in.
You just need to put the money to make your,
contracted
so you
services,
don't go.
make the payment to the other
Mr. Chairman,
vendor.
I make the motion that we provide the money back to Mr. Smith for the cost of repairing the check reader.
I have a motion from Commissioner Slater to fund the trustees line 399 for how much?
$1,560.
$1,560. And I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any discussion? Mayor?
No reflection on the trustee, but he's gonna do the budget amendment telling us where to move the money from.
We'll have to get a budget amendment prepared for next month. He's already made all the payments and everything. Now this is the accounting piece, right?
The accounting piece is we need a budget amendment.
Right, like I said, we'll have it next month. Any other discussion?
My budget amendment, I don't have anywhere to pull it from, so that's why I'm here.
Yeah, so Commissioner
Asking
Slater,
you.
where would you like to pull this money from?
Wherever you recommend.
Thank you. We can either, Mayor, either our 599 or a line in 189, Fund 189, which is a capital project. This would fall under 189, right? So, I don't care. We got money in 599. We can just move our 599 over to your 399.
Yes.
So we're amending the motion to do 599 over 399. Mayor, we'll have the amendment for next May. This is just to make sure that his account doesn't go over, right, Renee? So I mean, really something has to be done by the end of the year anyway. Correct.
He's got to pay this bill, so it's going to overdraw it until we get the budget amendment in there. But if we know we're going to do a budget amendment in May and move it out of your line.
Or if I had the budget amendment form, I'd write one up for tonight and get it over with. But does it hurt anything to wait till May? Mayor? I'm sorry that we didn't get it done.
Yeah, we can do it, May.
All right. Anything else?
Sir, that's it.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5 to 0.
Thank you, Commissioners. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Trustee. All right. All right, there's that. Then we'll go back to our budget amendment. First budget amendment is from the school system. Let's get back over here. All right, Susan, I think you better get ready. There's right there. That's roads. That's roads as well. So the first amendment on page 1, you can see where she's increasing her revenue and increasing her expenses, $5,275,429.74. Now I think when Susan and I chatted the other day, it's worthwhile looking at a couple of these in order to make sense out of them. All right. So then look at also page 3, which is in 26, as you referred to it.
Correct. It's actually got number 4 on the top of your, a handwritten 4, I believe, is on the top of that one.
4 is your itemization with signatures.
And I so apologize for my voice. If you guys can't understand me, I'll ask Ellen to come up and
No, you sound like a
help me
country
out.
singer. All right.
I've been dealing with this a week now, and it's getting old, believe me.
All right. What 3? It was amendment 31, 26,
And 26.
and 28.
I think 26 and 28 goes with 31. Because 31 is where it's dealing with Fund 177. And so if you want to see the offset of that, you're going to look at 26 and 28, which is where it 141.
All right. So we have, you guys have all the amendments? You guys have it on the computer or whatever. So Susan, the $5,275,429.74 that's coming in, and then you're increasing your expenses. You had that $5,275,429 going into building construction. You also have $155,986.10 and $5,280, and that is coming in from the total of Amendment 26.
Amendment 26 is bringing, yes, that is correct.
So all right. So that handles the 161,000, also 266.10 that's coming in for contributions and gifts. From what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, Susan, that is the Education Foundation making a donation. Is that what you guys call it? Or
They're not really making a donation, but the donations
they
flow
accept
through
the
them.
donations, and they're
Correct.
just the middleman in a way.
And for 501c3
Yeah.
donators, we need to run it through them first.
Right. So that's the foundation sending money that they receive, and that money is going towards the Pi Center, because when they made their donation, they designated it for the Pi Center.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. And you can see how it was actually the 5,000 was designated specifically for BizTown. So when you look down at the 91300, you can see that's exactly where we put it. So we're just cleaning all of this up that was sitting in 141, and we're moving it over to 177 because we're ready to begin those big projects.
Good. That takes care of that piece of it. The other piece on 26 is the transfer of Fund 177 for Coe Middle CDC Classroom and Special Ed Suite. Is that the 3,125,272.63?
Correct. And
Right.
again, you can look at 31 at the bottom
31 at the bottom.
and see where that lines up. It's got the OMCDC Cost Center,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where that's coming from.
And the last piece on Amendment 28, page 8. All right, that's the money from the fund balance for the initial funding for the science wing that you guys agreed to start.
That's correct.
So, in my opinion, if you guys agree, it's worthwhile to take these three amendments up because they all interlike with each other. So, pages 1 through we'll take those up as one motion. All right, I'm sure that's clear as mud. Commissioner Alford, let me get a motion in a second, and I'll recognize you. I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. Oh, I thought you wanted to ask a good question. Didn't know. Commissioner, I have a motion from Commissioner Alford, and I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. That takes care of that amendment. All the way up to page 10. That right there. And we also have another amendment here from the school system, decreasing the fund balance by 25,000, increasing the expenses for building improvement, Bradley County High School property fence. This is coming out of your undesignated fund balance that the school board's approved. All right. We have a motion to accept the amendment as presented. I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Takes care of that amendment. Now we get to page 11 and 12 as it is written on the top of your. There. Yep, page 11. All right. $25,871.83. She's increasing her revenue, increasing the expenses, so it's money coming in. And this is the grant called Tennessee Healthcare Resident. You already received this money, I believe.
Yes.
So it's just doing the county piece. I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those say no. Passes 5-0. And page 13 and 14. And 15, 16. Pages 13, excuse me. Increase in her revenue of 146,399.81. She itemizes that and increases her expenses, and she itemizes where all that's going to go. This is for the high cost expenditure and special education program, state special education preschool grant. Yeah, this is the first time you received this one, right?
It
Yep.
is. It's kind of a pilot program, I believe. That's the one that I said is only at Parkview currently.
All right, do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. I think that's it, Susan. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, going on to the next amendment. Now going into roads, so we're Fund 131. They're basically sending over amendments and getting their accounts and their lines all squared away of how they're doing business over there. First one there on page 17, she's decreasing $1,600 and increasing overtime. Money moved to cover upcoming year-end shortage. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Page 18. Still with roads, she is decreasing $216.18 out of 189 other salaries and wages, and she's moving it over to 103 assistance of $216.18 for coverage of year-end shortage. So a motion to accept the amendment from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Moving on to page 19. Also with roads, he is decreasing from, they have different accounts over there as well. Account 63600, line 141, $55,926, and she is moving it over to, in the same account, line 149, the same amount. Money moving over to upcoming shortages. So a motion to accept the amendment. I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Page 20, still with the roads. All right, she's decreasing her expenses from another account, 62000, line 143 of $150,000. And she's moving it from that equipment operator over to line 147 in the same account of $150,000. Motion to accept the amendment is presented. I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none?
I have a question.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Slater, please.
So Shannon, as you go down through here and there's several more still to come. It looks like you're moving almost $500,000 into salaries from other places. When you add all of these together, is there a reason why you're so short? You'll come to the microphone. Okay, perfect.
Your mic on?
Yes,
All right, thanks.
we are moving one line to the other until we figured out where everybody's salaries were pulling from. So you'll see basically these same changes in our budget packet for this upcoming year. We're not handing out raises or anything like that. We're just trying to figure out like some laborers, the equipment operators. They were all coded maybe to come out of the wrong lines. So we've cleaned all that up. That's why you're seeing all these
Okay.
big chunks moved around.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem.
So basically, you're moving this to to get in line with how you're actually paying people, so that
Correct.
they're not being paid out of a line that
They
I wouldn't say they shouldn't be, but basically this cleans it up, kind of like what Cassandra did.
It is,
right.
and this will be really our true ups for the end of the year.
So that, yeah, that's kind of what she's doing. Renee is screwing up in April when we usually. All right, so do we have a motion? Do we have a motion and a second on page 20? All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Thank you, Angie. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Page 21, also decreasing from part-time personnel, $25,610, and she's moving it over with the same amount over to overtime, line 187 in the same account. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Moving on to page 22, also in roads, is decreasing by 160,000 in account 61000 from 189 over to 149 levers of the same amount. Motion to accept the amendment as presented. I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Page 23, she's decreasing 95,000 from 147. This is a moving from one count to another count. 91200 over to 6200 in line 149 of the same amount. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, oh, please, Commissioner Alford.
Find some audit problems. Thank you.
One could also argue it's to avoid an audit finding because now they're paying people where they should be paying. Did I get a voted on that?
No, we didn't.
We
We didn't
did
vote.
not vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. That concludes roads. Thank you, Shannon and Angie, for coming over. Appreciate your time. Moving on to the next amendment, page 24. This is Deanna from Program Manager, Southeast Tennessee Community Corrections. She is increasing her expense and decreasing her expense. So, how do you? Yeah, I see what you usually it's the other way. All right. All right, of $2,000 in the same account, she's just basically going from $599 to travel. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? A motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Now on to page 25 amendment in the Health Department. She's increasing her expenses and decreasing her expenses $15,200. You can see where she's landing the money. The motion and this is for increase in costs and interpreters. Saw that the other day. I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion?
Is this for language? Is this for foreign speakers? Pretty much the interpreter is a,
I'm at it.
Actually, service.
okay.
And that's why you see when we're moving from the paraprofessional line where we had a vacancy, so we're pretty much moving out a person in that position
Okay.
into an technical
Okay.
IT.
Is it mainly on foreign language that they're?
100% on.
Okay, great. Thanks. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. There you see the documentation. Takes us to takes us to page 30. Right, Marie? All right. This is coming from the mayor's office, decrease in reserves, increase in expense, for the archive. We have a motion to accept the amendment as presented. I have a motion from Winters. I have a second from Mr. Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Also from the mayor's office. This is coming out of Art Money Fund 128, 25,000. This is for the phone system that we chatted about. I have a motion to accept the amendment. I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Mayor, is this all there is to this whole phone upgrade system?
This is to purchase the equipment. We did just get finished with the sheriff's department. That took about 6 months, and now we're beginning that long process. But the equipment purchase itself is a little bit less than 25,000.
And it's for this building and across the street.
Right. And then any other costs are involved with the ongoing monthly bills.
And I guess all the fire stations, or any other buildings outside of this building, across the street, and the sheriff's office, they stay on these.
Most of them are on their own systems. They're not part of this.
Very good. So I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Next amendment is on page 32, as it's written up on the top, from the Election Commission. She's decreasing expenses and increasing expenses of $181.18. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment from Commissioner Winters? Have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Next amendment is also from Election Commission. She's decreasing expenses by $1,800, and she's increasing it into accounting services. Yeah. There's no support. I have a motion from Commissioner. Yeah.
Increase.
That's I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Moving on to Parks and Rec.
This is a group of donors for the disc golf, putting it in the budget, the line that you created already to spend for construction.
I was just looking to see how many pages go with this. There, sorry.
34 to
Goes like from
38.
34 to 38. All right, there you go. So there's an amendment from Parks and Rec, 14,500. He's decreasing. I'm sorry, he's increasing his revenue, so it's money coming in, increasing his expenses for the same amount. And 426, as it says, disc golf goal sponsorship. Any? Oh, do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Opposed say no. Passes 5.
Too busy.
Oh, lost. Oh, I was wondering why she. Now,
Just want to visit.
juvenile court, increase in revenue of 100,000 and increase in her revenues. You can see where she is itemizing it into all those salary lines, and also 15,000 into other charges. You can see the description there. This is the Safe Baby Court funding as of March 2024. This is a 100% reimbursable grant with a program length December 2024. And this here, all of the supporting documents. Vicky, do you want to speak to this grant? While we look at all the places, it goes from page 39 to page 43.
I can. This is a grant across the state of Tennessee, and we've been on a list to get this grant to start this new court. It's called Safe Baby Court. It's for children 3 and under to help families either gain custody back or to help them maintain custody through help with addiction or help with whether it's housing or, you know, whatever the case may be. Its purpose is to keep children in our numbers from being in custody and to help these families to be successful. So we have, the magistrate will be doing these cases. It'll be a court that's at least twice a month, maybe more. It's a court that we staff every week. We meet with families every week. We will have a full-time coordinator that's already, she's already part of our staff that'll be taking that. And I'm the director in name, just to have that person to go between the state and our court. And so we have been looking forward to having this. We've just been on the list to get it. So they're wanting to do this across the state of Tennessee, and Bradley County is now part of that system. I'm not sure how many counties right now are actually have this court, but it's a great court to help our families with young children. It's not anything over 3, though. It's only 3 and younger. So it's new. We haven't even started court yet. But this 100,000 will be through June 30th, and then we have another grant that picks up that will be in our budget for July till December. It actually sunsets in December, but legislature is looking. They have a bill already on the table to actually lift that sunset because, let's face it, our families need this. This is not something you can put a time frame on for families like this. So we anticipate it going beyond December. It's just a matter of that sunset being lifted.
Understood.
So,
Let me
yes.
ask you a quick question, not
Sure.
to, you're gonna put 24,336 of this 100,000 into 189, which is a salary line. And you said this is an existing employee, so, one of your employees is gonna get an increase, that's fine.
Yes.
But the other lines, your cascade lines, I call them, medical insurance, that should already be budgeted. That doesn't go up, does it? Because, that's a fixed cost. That was already budgeted. Oh, because she's part-time.
But these
I see.
grants have, part of it, if you look at it, salary and benefits and their taxes is all in there. And when we pay these salaries, it's gonna take the coordinating amounts and hit this account with it. So it's gonna be paid out of that grant.
So the amount that we budget, well, since this person was part-time, do we not budget, I'm trying to remember, part-time gets,
They don't get the health insurance
Right.
and stuff.
Okay,
They'll
so
have the
now-
taxes, but they
So
don't
to
have
clarify, that
Yep.
part-time's going to full-time. Our coordinator will be a
very good.
full-time employee.
And then 42 with supplies and all that kind of stuff, so,
Mhm.
very good. Yeah, Commissioner Winters has a question.
Tell us about how the grant works, and congratulations on getting grants. We're ecstatic about grants.
Yes.
Because grants save the taxpayer and also
Right.
provides great services. Who is your grant writer for y'all? Who does that?
We,
Or do you
we
do
don't
it?
have a grant writer for us.
Yeah.
What happened was, this has been in the works for a number of years now. Well, I say a number of years, probably 4 or 5 years, because they only do so many counties a year, the state. And so what happened was about, I guess 4 or 5 years ago or so, a lady with the administrative office of the courts and I had a conversation about possibly bringing this court to Bradley County, because it is basically putting counties on the map, because it's innovative, it's a new thing, and it's to help our families succeed and to keep them out of state custody, which will save the state money in the long run. So we got to do all the work on the forefront to save money on the back end. And so we just had that conversation, and by just saying that we were interested, it went into on the list, basically, that Bradley County was interested. So we didn't have to write anything. We just had to show the interest that it was there. And then maybe a year ago, I did have to submit paperwork with what would we be utilizing it for. So supplies, for instance, I might have a family that needs a baby bed. So we have a supply item for those, or diapers, wipes, those kind of things.
Yeah.
We do take donations, but of course, sometimes we're not going to have whatever items needed donated. So
It's from the judge to one person that you designate.
it'll go
does
with
not.
through the family.
Great, congratulations.
Yeah. So every week they have what's called a CFTM, Child and Family Team meeting, and all the powers that be come to the table and meet. So our coordinator will meet, our family will meet, any service providers that are helping this family meet, and we'll decide at that time, we have this need, how can we meet this need? And so the county's meeting that need, but through the state.
Thank you.
You got it. Any other questions for, Mayor Davis, please?
Vicky,
Yes, sir.
is it not gonna be tough to make it by June 30th? And will it
Or
carry over if you don't?
you mean to
The 100.
utilize this money? It's gonna be tough, but part of it is we've maintained and started what we knew some of the stuff we would need. For instance, there's some office furniture that we're gonna need. There's some things the state has told us to build up our supply for these families. So we know some of those needs we already know we're gonna have. And so now we were just waiting on the approval to come through and the contracts to come through for us to be able to even start doing that. So we have like a stockpile of donations that have already started, but there are going to have to be some purchases that are made. So we know what those are. It's just now a matter of
But-
logistics to do
But it's
that.
reimbursable, so if it's not done by 6:30, will they carry it over or do you lose
No.
it?
I
You
have to have
lose
it all spent by June 30th.
It's a lot of
Does not
traveling.
carry over.
It's a lot of traveling for 3 months. But
Yes, and part of that is we do have some mandatory trainings because the administrative office of the courts will be training our staff on what exactly we have to do as far as staffing and what we have to do with these families. And so we do know our coordinator and myself are going to have some of that travel.
And then a follow-up, will you be coming back after the new budget's approved to amend the budget for the
For the
extra?
next one. Mhm.
We'll do that after the fact, after we've, I assume is the plan, because it wasn't in your request,
Right,
so.
right. We didn't have it when budgets were
Right.
submitted. The timing just crossed over everything. It was an odd timing. And so when we submitted our budgets, I don't believe that we had the actual
That's
everything
fine, just come,
finalized.
be sure and come back in July and amend the
I
50
will.
or whatever.
Yes, sir.
Maybe it'll grow. but
Sure, I hope so.
Thanks.
So Vicky, as we know, grants come in all different. This isn't one of those grants where, I think of the SROs at one time, we had 3 years and then after that it was on us. So
No, this is not that. This is a state, this will never come back up on the county unless they were to drop it and we were to say, hey, we need this. But right now, we've been told, and I'm just going by what I've been told from other counties, that this sunset is going to be lifted and I've not been given an actual futuristic date. Because it's been so successful in other counties, that's why the state wants to keep it going.
it does seem a shame that if the grant wasn't awarded, what would, it would put us in a, I wouldn't
Right.
call it a bind, but we'd have to
Oh, I understand.
sharpen our pencils a little bit.
Right.
Thank you very much.
I do understand.
All right, so do we have a motion and a second? I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you.
All right, going on to the next amendment, page 44 and 45. We're now in EMS with Mike. He is increasing his revenue and is increasing his expenses for $616.99. And it's a refund. So we have a motion to accept the amendment from Commissioner Winters. We have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Going on to the next budget amendment, page 46 and 47. Still with EMS. He is increasing his expense there, is decreasing expense there, decreasing his expense there, and 2 for the 500 equals 1,000. So he's just basically moving money all in his account. Motion to accept the amendment from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Continuing on to page 48 and 49 and 50. Oh, this is my favorite one, Mayor. For blood draws. Increasing our revenue, increasing our expenses. We have a motion to accept the amendment as presented. I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Mason. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Moving on to the next budget amendment. And we're now in fire. It goes to page 51 to 53. We're in Fund 121. $1,134, increase in his revenue, increase in his expenses by the same amount. This is a BFIS reimbursement check. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment from, as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Mason, I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes 5-0. Continuing with fire from page 54. Yep. Oh. Decrease in expenses and increase in expenses, 500 for laundry services. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Winters. I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes 5-0. Now we go into the sheriff's office, page 55 and page 56. This is a donation from Ms. Lawson, Brenda Lawson, for the Child Safety Day. All right, do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes 5-0. Mayor, did you have something?
The rest of them are services for
Yeah. All right, the rest of them, pages 57 all the way to page 84 are services rendered. We'll take those up as one package, unless there's one at the bottom that I don't see. There. Services rendered. Do I have a motion to accept the amendments as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes 5-0 on services rendered. All right, so that concludes the budget amendments. Mayor, is there any other ones? All right. Thank you. All right. Next thing to chat about is the ARP money, interest money appropriations. Lori, before she has been calculating that, and I wanted you guys to look at the interest that it's making. You can see on the 2 pages that were included in our packet here. Not quite sure the interest on here, but that's the budget amendment. Here, so, at some point in time, we're gonna have to decide what we wanna do with this. Mayor, you and I chatted a little bit about it. I believe you told me that, that the Southeast Tennessee, the people who are doing the reports and all that stuff is gonna be paid out of this, right? Do we have an amount on that?
We've only paid one amount so far, and that's 30,000. Probably another one in June of approximately 30. In following these numbers here, and the first one is in your budget, the second one is pending the audit. What I plan on doing here is creating another bucket of the ARP money, and this is interest, keeping it all separate because it's sort of like the bucket where you have your discretion. This is totally your discretion on this money. We're tracking the income through last audit, and then we'll track it showing estimated for June 30th of this year. So when you get your budget and your revised ARP plan, there'll be that additional bucket there showing there are 2 or 3 things so far that are in the request that will go to this bucket, sort of treating it like ARP, but the majority of it will be there left at your discretion to spend once you see that bucket. All I ask is let it go through the budget process. It'll take care of the admin and 2 or 3 other things that are above and beyond what we have left. We don't have any ARP left, true ARP.
Right.
But this extra bucket of revenue from ARP will start doing some of those capital things that we need to do, and then there will be the majority of it left for you all.
All right, so basically, you're gonna have a new bucket called the interest bucket or
Right.
something like that. So when is the proper time to say, hey, I got an idea, I would like to fund XYZ, or
I would,
I've heard a few, you know, I'll open up.
I would hope, because the bulk of it will be left. I would hope that you will let me go through my proposal part and put in there what I can pull out of this red book, like we've always done with ARP, and subtract it off, and then you'll have a balance left that probably when it goes to the finance, you know, after you start working on my proposal,
Yeah.
you can start deducting from that with your wishes. Mine will only have requests that I'm able to do that way as opposed to doing it in the general fund.
Okay.
So, I mean,
So we need, how do we let you know? I think,
at that point,
uh,
when
'cause
you're changing my
there-
proposal, add to the interest bucket
Okay.
would be the simplest way to do it. Add to your request in that interest bucket.
all right, you got that?
And
'Cause-
think of it as, if you're looking at the boxes, the center box is a big long box. That's your discretionary box. It's all used up. I'm continuing on with that box. It's actually a separate box, but it will be, because I'm keeping interest and ARP separate, but that box will continue on. They're
That's why-
not, but let's say fire department was requesting a fire truck. That's where it would have to go now.
And I'm
that
glad
kind
you
of
said
thing.
fire, because that's one of the requests I got outside of our potential move. That's, put that over to the side. Some of the existing fire stations, from what I understand, have some needs. And we've noticed that, art money is a good use, because fire is kind of restricted in that they only get the property tax that has been levied for them. So they've received some, you know, the 100-foot ladder truck and the 2 trucks that we just saw the other day, and a few other little things. But there are, I think, lights in the Bay Area is what came to mind, and some other things that has been brought to our attention. So the best time to let you know that that's something we want to use interest money for is after your budget proposal. And then I
And
think,
like I said, my proposal will only include those things that I can put there as a way of getting them out of here. I don't have any personal wishes I'm putting there, but there are things I'm moving. But they've pretty much been told the ARP money's gone, and that's true, except that we do have the ARP interest now that you can spend from.
right, and
And
yeah,
spend
roads.
it fairly slowly, because that way Mike will be able to continue to accumulate more interest, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, it's coming in pretty good, but
What he's showing you on here is his running total. For example, if you were following that first sheet down through December of 20 or June of 22, it shows 12,000. That's in your budget. That's an audited number. And then from July 22 through June of 23, he's showing, if you totaled all of those up, you never see them broken down like that, and you don't need to. But June 23, we have an estimated figure in your budget, and he's showing what the actual is. That's
well,
should match the audit. And then this current year, he's showing, way more than was projected, but he's showing as of February 1.2 million, and we'll probably estimate in the budget 1.5 million for the current year. It's 1.2 now.
yeah.
And then it's going to drop off after that, because a lot of it is getting spent this current year. But because of broadband and all those holdups and those things, we'll still continue to get a decent amount of interest next year. Next year's will be a guess, though, because we won't know when those things will be spent. But you're going to have a decent bucket to work from for another year at least.
So I'm just for everybody, I think those things like equipment, like we did the fire trucks. I think Superintendent Collins has asked for a piece of equipment again, not in addition to what it. So to me, those are the things that we should spend art money on. But also, I think affordable housing was done very well, and
What I told them on that, and if you would do it the same way, it would be good. If they'll go ahead and send those separate requests, assuming they're outside of their budget request, go ahead and send them in, then I'll have them included in this bucket for you whenever you get
I thought
it.
it was in his, but the current
It could be. I've not
yeah,
got
they
to
asked for
roads
a
yet.
dump truck or something.
Like the housing one's not. But I'll have that bucket as completed as I know it as of that date. Now, if they don't If they're not in here, I wouldn't know about them, is what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
if they're in here, I will try to have them in that bucket. That'll be the last thing I do, but that's the goal.
Okay.
Uh,
One
I'll
second,
mention
Commissioner
one
Alford,
thing. I'm
just
sort of changing subject, but on that, you made me think of it with affordable housing. We opened bids on the one department that hasn't spent their money.
well, that's what I was getting ready to ask you.
Okay, good. You have an amount committed from ARP, city has a matching amount, and it wasn't near what the bid came in. So I've been asked, and I can't speak for you all, do you want to look at matching with the city the difference? That would be additional.
So look,
I know we're all kind of,
I've heard the rumor of the number, but can you verify that?
didn't bring it with me, but yeah, we did 100, they did 100, that's 2, and it came in 4 something. 457. But the thing I want to say here, I know we're all kind of, I don't know what the word is. I've been aggravated because they've sort of dragged their feet and then they had to do things over and then blah, blah, blah. But when we first started looking at ARP and talking about affordable housing, our biggest need in Cleveland and Bradley County was the homeless shelter. That's our biggest need, believe it or not. And this is the only money we put aside to help with that subject. And now the final bids have come in. There are a lot more, but we've increased other things, and the shelter is still that biggest need, in my opinion. I think you need to consider doing it, but
I have no problem with Mayor, but I will say this, and I don't mean to cast judgment. These delays, do they have anything to do with the increase, or was
Well,
it just the plan itself got changed
yes
so
and
much
no,
that
but I
they-
mean, the same thing's gonna happen when you open a broadband bid. It's not gonna go near as far as it would have if
And
they had done it 2 years
Is
ago,
it fair
but
to say the same thing is gonna happen when the state grants that are gonna be doing for the utilities? I
these
mean, they've
utility
waited so
grants are
long.
just now starting to move. Hiawassee Utilities is spending and going fast, but the others are not, and yeah, they're gonna have shortages. But again, in my opinion, the number one priority is the shelter thing, and I'm not defending their delay or anything, but if you were agreement to proceed with that, that's another thing that would be in this bucket that we're talking about, this interest bucket. And you're talking about, you're probably gonna have way over $1 million after I go through here. I don't know yet, because I've not gone through the biggies. You know, the bigger ones get bigger because the bigger ones ask for more than anybody else. Well, I've not even looked at those yet. It cracks me up. The bigger just want to get
I'm
bigger.
glad you're laughing.
The fat want to get fatter. But again, I'll pull them out, and I'm not sure how much it is, but it's not going to all be spent. I can tell you that.
Commissioner Alford and Commissioner Slater.
Out of all the buckets, have we totally expired, expenses on all of them? Are they all empty now?
They're all committed. Now, people like broadband, it's not spent. Mostly broadband, sewers still got a little bit of those odd septic things we're waiting on. Broadband's not any of it been spent yet. Now, they're working on the grants, but they're not spent. Water is still in the works. Those are all committed. When you get your revised thing, I think there's 2 things been added in your bucket that's not been spent or committed, but everything else is committed. So that's why if you added to this shelter thing, for example, it would go in the interest bucket because there's not another bucket up there it can go to now.
When are we gonna get that revised?
I plan on having it with the budget. The only thing missing, your revised that you have, is we've fine-tuned your bucket as things have gotten paid for, and maybe we budgeted 2,000, it came in 1,900. So we're trying to do all that kind of thing. But they're all committed. You have no ARP money to commit other than the interest from ARP. So if you do shelter, if you do the housing thing that was mentioned, or any of these other things, they'll be in that bucket if you're agreeable with any of them. And they may be in that bucket and you're not agreeable and you can take them out. But my intention is to put anything that will work in there from here.
My next question, I guess, is the housing thing. How come it jumped from 2 to 400?
I don't know. That
What
is
kind of increases did they do, or what?
No, they
what's
didn't.
the plan? I've not seen a plan. The last plan I saw was not much.
If you want to add to it, Adam, you can. I just say this: the first time it went to bid, it's a smaller project, and when you hear about bidding projects this day and time, it's tough. The first time it went to bid, they got no bids. And the second time, I think they had 2 or 3 bids, and they came in a lot more than was estimated. What was estimated 2 years ago? So, in 2 years span, most everything has gone up a lot, but add to that.
Yeah, I wasn't there for the bid opening. I came in on the tail end of it and heard some of the discussion. But the bulk of it is the increase in just the cost over the last 2 years. They also explained that their original plan didn't account for some of the codes that had to be built too. It ended up just being a larger project and a little bit more expensive on that side too. So they were also going to go back. They have value engineered it down from the architect standpoint quite a bit. They said there's maybe a little more that can be shaved off, but they're now going to be able to go back and talk with the lowest bidder to see if there's any savings that can be found there too.
Commissioner Slater, please.
Are you finished, Mr.
I
Alford?
had one.
Oh, well,
Mom, go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry. I thought 2 was your limit.
Today I need 3.
Don't blame me for the long meeting.
This been 2-year project going on, 3, I think. Isn't that right? Are we gonna sit here another year or 2 years waiting on this project to get finished, or where are we? We need to put some kind of time frame on this thing, I think.
Well, and I don't disagree in the past, but I will tell you, it has been bid now, so we have the bids finally with an amount, and so they're waiting on us. Are we gonna be able to get more, or is it a dead project? I suggest that we agree to match with the city and do the difference and go on, but it would come out of your interest bucket if you do. But it's ready to move if they just know they can. I couldn't tell them at bid opening to move forward because it's more than is in the budget.
You said 400,000, is that right? That figure?
450 roughly.
467.
Is half of that gonna be the cities or all of it?
That's what I would suggest. It's
Oh,
a matching
absolutely.
thing, and I think that
What
We're-
they're asking is that we would split the difference.
Yeah.
The same way we split the first
So-
200,000.
so it's a
So
match.
actually, we're looking at 200,000.
Right.
And 4.
And if you're agreeable, I would put that in this bucket, and then we could tell them to go ahead and move forward as contingent upon the city. Now, again, go back, not casting stones at anybody, but there was several months holdup waiting to get that contingency met. So, and then mistakes were made by the entities involved, and so, whatever reason, there's 2 years passed by. And so now we either don't do it at all, or we offer to match half of it with the city.
We got it. Commissioner Slater.
Yeah, I mean, I would support that. That is one of the largest needs we have in our community.
It is.
And as you drive around the community, you see homeless encampments all throughout our community. So I would support that. But I also am interested in knowing who the project manager would be on that. I think there should be one so that that project stays on course and stays within budget. Because
We-
we're running out of time for that building to be built. The clock's ticking every day.
I agree.
But I
Same
would-
thing with water and broadband, and they're out of our control. The broadband,
Well, Broadband VDC and their project managers are kind of, but if I may, I agree with Commissioner Slater. Is there any way that we can hire a project manager and tell Mr. Director
well,
Ramsey?
they have an architect now.
Okay,
That
do-
took a long
do-
time.
Do your thing but as far as the building and the milestones and meeting all that, let somebody else handle that.
Well, they're doing the admin part of
Yeah,
it,
but I
and they will
mean,
do
the
the.
actual project manager, like this,
They'll keep them moving now that we've got a bid. But you mentioned project manager. If you were to back up now and hire the architect, in my opinion, a good architect does the job. I know schools don't do it like that, but that's how we've done every other project. If the architect will do their job, if you back up now and do a project manager, I know it will be said that you could save money, but you're going to have to put that in the budget, which is going to lower the amount of work they're
Yeah.
able to do on this
I
project.
just want them to complete the building
I
so
just-
we have beds available for people in our
Yeah.
community.
I think now the development district would stay on them after that. They've just had to back up and punt so many times because of these issues. I sound defensive of them. I'm not. I've been on them, but we're to a point now where they're ready to move forward. The bidder if they're awarded the lowest bid, is ready to start. I'm not sure what the time frame said, but again, I couldn't tell them to do that because of
I
this
understand.
discrepancy.
Right.
So
as
now
a,
it's gonna be on me that there's a
You
holdup.
can make a motion. yeah.
so as a finance committee, do we need to make that motion today to give you the authority to move forward with that?
Or at least go get the, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I-
At least let the
I
city
would-
know that there's a caveat.
I would, the motion should say that we agreed to pay 50% of the funding contingent on the city matching. And if you're
So I
ready to do
make a
that,
motion that we agree to pay 50% of the funding agreed upon with the city paying their 50% of it too.
I have a motion from Commissioner Slater to, pay the difference between what was originally budgeted and split that with the city. I have a second from Commissioner Winters. Any further discussion? Any other caveats or whatever? Mayor,
Well,
please.
much of this was the state and feds got into this of what had to be done for the handicapped. No, they have to deal with a handicapped person. The person can't get up steps. That's what I heard. But there's other parameters that have to be done for people to be that are either disabled or elderly. They were needing to have a way to get upstairs if they're upstairs in the original plan. And I'm just saying that. Say that's why they've had some of the delay on it. It hasn't been because they haven't moved forward.
That
you
was
could be
the
correct,
original-
I don't know. Yeah.
But something in that happened. As I talked with the director himself, he said that it was these situations that they hadn't allowed for that was backing up their action.
And they haven't spent a penny of this money so far.
They have spent a penny of it. There's been, architectural fees or something has been spent, but not much.
Out of either the money that we appropriate or earmarked so far, and the city's spent money as well.
I
We don't
think,
know.
yeah, everything's split 50-50, I believe, when a bill comes in, yes.
All right, so we have a motion to continue on with the parameters outlined. Any further discussion? And hopefully the city will make a quick decision on this. I probably will, yeah. Yes, I will if it passes here in a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes 5-0. And yes, Adam, I will bring this tonight. That way, the mayor, you can go over to the city and ask them for their part of the project. So anyway, I just want to let you know about the interest money. The mayor has told us that he's going to create a bucket, and then those things that are in the budget request that he can use it for, and we approve. And then anything that we're hearing from elected officials, department heads that we want to add to it. It's making, Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, it's making about 60, 65, maybe a little bit more every month when I look at the interest that this money's made. And that will start going down as we start spending a lot more money, obviously. Very good. That is that. And going back to our agenda. Budget review requests and schedule budget hearings. This is the time where we schedule who we want to bring in. I'm sure everybody has studied the budget requests inside and out, and you could pass an exam if we quizzed you on it. So I'm going to open up floor in pretty much any department at the account level that you want to bring in for next Thursday. Now is the time. You guys don't have, I'll start. I'm going to ask that the road department is going to come in, the fire department, EMA, and IT. And that won't take very long with yours. Those are the four that, when I looked at their budget request, I want to chat a little bit more. You had one you told, planning, Mr. Wilson, planning department. Very good. Commissioner Slater.
I had road and EMS. You've already mentioned those.
EMS? No, I said EMA.
Oh, well, I mean EMA.
Okay, apologize. Yeah. Did you EMS? No? Okay. So I've got yours covered then. Commissioner Mason? You covered yours, Commissioner Winters? I covered yours as well. So you got those, Mayor? Please.
Okay. And we'll start them at 1 o'clock. on
Yeah.
that date?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What, you think 30 minutes each will work for these?
IT won't take very long, but yeah, that's probably good.
Leave them 30 and then IT will give you a cushion. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll put IT
First, if you don't.
first, and that way we'll be ahead.
That's true. That's true.
Will do.
And that is next Thursday, April 11th at 1 o'clock. But Lori will have lunches beforehand if you want. All right.
And your
And-
budget hearing for schools is that Monday, like always, May 13th, I believe. They're nodding, yeah.
Yeah.
They'll have their budget to us on Friday. It'll come to you, and then 15th. So it's Monday, May the 15th. So that's your other budget hearing. The most important one's separate later on.
You know, Dr. Cash, is this your time now? Other business?
Thank you. I am coming before this committee to request a resolution for funding for the Hopewell Elementary building project.
Okay. When we saw that the other day in the education committee.
Would you like the breakdown of the phases with that at this time with the amount of money, or would you just
You didn't get to see
like a
that, did you?
timeline?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think you were all here. Okay.
That'd be great.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll take any other money you have lying around. Just let me know what it is. Doesn't
That's
sound
all.
like there's a lot left.
So let me Hopewell was what fit all together, all your phases was 15.1 if I'm going by memory, and I know I shouldn't, but 15.1.
Phase 1 was 8.2 million, phase 2 5.6, phase 3
That the other day I added it up.
And you can look at it in multiple ways. Allowing us to phase it in allows us to remain to keep school and not displace students. So as phase 1 is finished, we will move those students over into that building and then continue with the rest. Are there any other questions while he's adding this up for you?
I'm gonna ask you a question here in a second. The other two is Waterville and Parkview.
Parkview, and of course the school system will take on the financing for Parkview, and that is that will as we break it down, they'll all phase in, but simultaneously buildings will go on, and then we will add 2 portables to Waterville for this year. They will be they are not in this first round of buildings, but once we finish Hopewell and Parkview, we may be able to start it earlier, but those will be finished first. And of course, we're adding the special ed edition to OMS. And so your total for Hopewell, 15,176,888.
We can round pretty good. We can.
Yeah.
All right. So, Dr. Cash is asking for a resolution which would commit us to funding this over the next couple of years.
Yes, sir. It's
Okay.
over multiple years.
So, Mayor, I don't think so. Thank you, Dr. Cash. I think I had to have a little chat amongst ourselves.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's obviously more than what we have in 189. So, what is your thoughts on going forward?
The multiple years that she said is the important thing. We've begun, I guess you would say, preliminary discussions looking at the long range plan of the 189 over a 3-year period. So it's going to be doable, what she's wanting to do, if you were to approve that total project. I've got to get back with them and iron out some little bit differences. That second one is a little bit tough, and some of it may have to be moved toward the third one. But that's not, if you're all's concerned, you just got to, if we can pay for it out of 189, are you okay with 15 point whatever million? You approve it, and we'll have the timeline worked out. There'll be some, the first year, there's no issue at all. The second year, they may have some cash flow until tax revenue comes in, that kind of thing. But again, that's not your all's concern. That's Dr. Cash's concern. But we'll have all that ironed out at some point. I haven't gone further with it yet until I know if it's a project you're going to approve. But you can safely say that the intent is it will be paid out of 189, no borrowing, and it's over a three budget year, 3 budget years. That's
So-
key.
And well, that's kind of my question, is, does that deplete 189 for the next 3 years?
Well, my plan is, not knowing what you
Because we-
guys are, ARP is gone. My plan is to leave
ARP is gone.
a designated amount there and still make it work. I'm not there yet, but just to make up a figure, that first year, for example, is 8.1.
Huh?
No, what was that first year? Can we do 8.3 and an amount? We were talking about next year. You're looking at this year's balance. So you add next year's revenue to that, and you're getting awfully close on that first year. I'm talking hypothetical here,
I
but
know,
over a 3-year period, and leave an amount there that you can have for unknown capital projects. It'd be a small amount, maybe 100,000, but some amount is my plan. And once I get that ready, then I promise to get back with Dr. Cash and Susan and explain how the timeline will work. And of course, she'll do like she's done before, make me put that in writing and all these things. But all that's okay once I'm there.
Well, she wants it, that's a
Yeah.
resolution.
We've
that-
done
but
this
that-
several times.
but
That's not a problem. It's just
That will tie up 189 for a couple of years for the most, I understand what you're saying, you'll put
a token
a
amount.
token amount in there
Right.
for.
I
you know,
think we have to, because we have so many unknowns, and that's our capital projects fund. It was mainly put there for schools and roads, though, keep in mind. But
But you have sheriff has been purchasing vehicles out of there
Yeah.
and some other things.
And see, we know we can do this interest money one more year, possibly next year, but then after that, this will be our only place to go to.
And
So
so
we've got to,
I wouldn't call it fear, but one of the things I'd like for us to explore is that out of 189, I don't even know what the percentage is. I looked at it the other day, the resolution has like 3 pennies out of the dollar, whatever, that goes in there, whatever that amount is in growth. But a certain amount, call it 85% of it can go towards this project, but then 15% of what goes in there per year needs to go for, because we do have other requests coming in from roads and sheriff, yourself. EMS has been asking for some new stuff, I believe. So you just never know over the next 36 months. So I was thinking, let's go with this. The number's fine, I think. I mean, I had a little sticker shock the other day, but I'm fine now. But I don't want to hit 189 100% every year. So whatever the amount is that you project on your revenue projection, take off 15% or whatever percent you think is good. But we definitely can't use 100% of 189 for the next 3 years.
I agree. I mean, I agree, and the discussions we'll have is the start time. He talked about what will happen the first 6 months. All of those are important because a lot of that doesn't eat up until they actually start construction, and I've not had the discussions with him at all on that. I can kind of project where he'll get probably, but I can be carrying fund balance forward to that second year. I mean, I will be, and can I carry enough to meet that total amount? But and still leave some back here, but I don't know how much yet. But I
You'll
will.
eat up your fund balance pretty quick.
Yeah, but that first year they're not going to have any. He'll say starting in the spring, and construction. If it starts in the spring, you're almost in the summer before you're spending construction money,
So
which gets into a new budget real quick.
Yeah.
And so there's those kind of things.
that's a good question. I know we asked it the other day, but just not to be repetitive, but let's say here's 15 million right here. When would you get started? I mean, like,
Yeah, we would start with the soft costs, due diligence, design, initially. That would be about a 6-7 month process. And
from today?
from the time funding was committed.
So that would put you at the end of the year.
That's what I'm talking about.
First fiscal
Yeah.
year, we're projecting second. Phase one was
So you would have a fund balance carry over into the 25, 26 budget. Okay.
And Chairman, I would be remiss if I didn't add, the school board has also asked me to bring the tracks to you, but that's at a different time. We're not, this is the main focus, is the academic
Oh.
side of it. I don't want anybody to tell me I didn't do what I was told to do.
So noted. All right.
So
The
we're
water,
actually looking at bidding in January if everything's
Yeah.
approved. So the mayor's right. Once you start your bids, you are, you hope spring, but you're usually a little late spring before you start construction.
I mean, the Waterville and the Parkview, are they done in parallel, or is it you get to a certain point on your Hopewell, then you start the other two, or?
we are projecting to move forward with Ocoee Middle School.
Ocoee Middle, but you're funding that one,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Funding that one.
Yeah. So you got,
Ocoee Middle, security vestibule at Bradley Central. Assuming the federal grant comes available, the science wing at Bradley Central, Hopewell, Parkview.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about the request for the boys locker room with baseball field. Is that?
I can address that in our current budget, fiscal budget that will come before you. That is in our maintenance department realm, that baseball. Of course, that all has to be approved by our school board, but we have that already budgeted.
So it's coming in your budget request then?
Yes, sir.
All right.
If approved by.
If your
Yeah.
school board approves.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Alford, please.
You mentioned that track and so forth. What kind of time frame? First of all, after all, you moved a lot of money out of your fund balance recently. And what does that leave you in your fund balance? After all these this morning.
We would be right around about 8 million, which is our
So
7.
you're only required to have 5, right? So you're gonna sit there with 3.
We actually like to keep 7% in that fund balance in case we have a true emergency. And Susan and I have also concurred with our board that our monthly salaries we don't even have enough to cover our monthly expenses in that if something happens. So that is our safety net. Absolutely.
Susan, can't hear you.
Well, no,
I know what it is.
We got thousands
he
and
knows what it
thousands of
is.
people
He's
watching.
picking on us.
Thinking about, so really, you're talking about percent, the number we gave you, $1 million, it's not percent, that 8.1. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know exactly where you're coming
Okay,
from.
I just
studied
want to
this
be sure
before.
we're both talking with the same.
My concern, I guess, is how much longer we're gonna put this track and Walker Valley track off? Another year, another 2 years?
Well, sir, that we would leave that up to this commission to make that decision. That was from the Board of Education. We took on all of or as much of the academics as we could in the construction for education, and so we are bringing that to this commission.
When are you gonna bring that back?
That would be at your discretion whenever Mylan and this finance committee asks me to bring it forward. I'll be glad to bring it forward. I think
Have
you
we got
asked for a few changes for us to look up first, and we don't have those ready for you.
Okay. So we probably wait another year?
Do you want me to wait another year?
No.
Yes, sir. That's what I would recommend. I would recommend you let it. Well, it won't take us that long to get the changes that you suggested, but I would at least recommend another year, because once you start all of these projects at one time, that would be a lot to take on, and it's a pretty big project, especially at Bradley.
Good. All right. So, Dr. Cash, I know, and you're probably so tired of us asking the same question. different ways, but these expansion plans,
Yes, sir.
how far out, as best you can, I know you don't have a crystal ball, we might, does this get us? I mean, are we
I
gonna,
think
because
you're
we
good.
just expanded North Lee and Black Fox,
Mhm.
what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, something
Three.
like that? And we're expanding, and we all see the growth when we drive around town. The city, I think, their school board has got something coming as well, from what I understand. I mean, it'd be good to know as much as possible that this will get us to 2027, 2028 or something like that.
And it's, so these projects finish around that 26, 27, 27, and I think you're in good shape there. We would, of course, somewhere in there, we have to plan for Waterville, and we'll be, working and talking with that, but we want these projects finished first. I think we're in really good shape. I do, I do not know how fast these housing developments are going to go up. But we always know that if we get in dire need, like we are at Waterville right now, we can add portables always as a temporary solution. Because I mean, if you start a building project, you're 2 years in before you you actually add students. So no, even if we finish these in 27, you're still 2 years away before you can start again.
Nope. Chairman Cry, all right.
I'm going to get that.
Second. So, yeah, he dropped his. Looks like it. So, Finance Committee, the question we need to ponder or think about is the numbers, the 15.1 for Hopewell and the others, Waterville, and the mayor's going to handle, I guess, the timeline and just in timing it like we did, similar to, I guess, what we did with Lake Forest, over multiple budgets.
And Parkview.
Parkview as well, yeah. So, and Lori, and to get a resolution ready for the full commission, I'm thinking this, we're not prepared for one. I gotta get Crystal to look at it, obviously, and that, but Lori's out today. So I'd like to do, all right, Mr. Chairman? I mean, I know we don't normally do anything on budget hearing. We normally just, there's no voting going on, it's just question and answering. But we got plenty of time to actually put together, put it on the agenda to recommend a resolution that we draft and get it to everybody by next Thursday. So that we can kind of, I wouldn't say we fast track it, but at least get it some momentum going. So the school board, is they're looking at their budget, can know what we're willing to do, what we're not willing to do. Is that all right with you guys? That I'll get with Lori and Crystal to get a resolution and have you look at it, and then we'll vote on that next Thursday, just before we get into hearings. Normally we don't vote on anything at hearings, but I'll take the chairman's prerogative and do that. Commissioner Alford, please.
Yes, sir. I can't remember your name. I have a question for you. When you were doing
Please
this
state your
growth
name.
study and mapping all that, did you do a population study at each school as to breakdown on the students?
Yes, sir.
right.
Is that,
Cope Architects.
I'm talking
Wait,
about
you can
numbers
look at
of
it.
students, male, female, in zone, out of zone, Timbuktu, or what?
Actually did capacity studies of the number of students that were present and the number of we looked at the core capacity, which is going to be your cafeteria, your gymnasium, and then the actual physical number of classrooms. But the schools we're looking at right now are unable to accept more students unless I've got like a grade level. Like I looked at, I don't even remember which school it was, and I had a particular grade level that they could take a few more students at. But we did not, we looked at the capacity study. What's the capacity of the school and what do we have in there right now? So like we've said before, Waterville is no longer taking any out of zone. and Oak Grove has very few. So we did look at that. We are at the point where like there are several schools right now. Commissioner offered that I'm telling them, you can't take any out of zone kids because we are truly where we are.
Again, I'll ask the question, how many, if you got 425 kids in Hopewell, for example, how many are in zone, out of zone? Coming from where or what?
And Mr.
Or when
Alford,
and how?
I know you asked that question many times, but even if like they don't have very many openings at all, even with our in zone kids, we have not broken it down to out of zone and in zone kids because in Bradley County in particular, I've been here almost 10 years, and that's been a practice before I was ever here. And even when we speak to our attorney. He says one thing you need to remember is that they pay county taxes.
Right.
So that, well, I don't want to be in court for any of that. So, but we are, and I think you also have to look at your growth patterns, and your growth patterns are telling you, including the city schools and the county schools, we are not going to have the capacity to hold all these students that are moving in.
Any other questions or concerns? Dr. Cash, though, it is, when I hear someone tell me that they pay county taxes and therefore, because they do pay county taxes, their kids should be able to go to a county school, it's worthwhile to me to remind them that the county also sends the city every month a nice check on behalf of the city residents like myself. So I get what they're saying, and I don't think it's worth arguing about, but it is worth knowing that the city gets about 17 million per year. They get it over the year, not one lump sum. Plus, anytime we do bond, we have to do the ADA piece of it. So, just to be a little bit fair on that, we got thousands of people watching.
Maybe 500.
Mayor can speak more to this than I can, but when we look at that split, it is average daily attendance or average daily attendance versus membership. Membership is not included. Which one do we split? ADA is a split.
Mm-hmm.
So the more students that are in one or the other county, then that more money is going to go in that direction. So it's that ADA split.
Yeah, absolutely right. And it's a year behind, and that's kind of my concern that I told Senator Lowe the other day on maintenance effort when they start letting kids go county to county.
Yes, sir.
Totally different subject. But last question then, from what I understand, the city is also, their city school board and their building committee, I guess, whatever, is also going to be asking their city council for some building improvements and upgrades and expansions as well. Does that affect your decision on what you guys are proposing?
It does not. Because what we're doing is improving existing. Now, we will talk about new schools at a later time. That's a long way down. Again, Vice Chairman Winters requested that we facilitate a meeting with them to see what their plans were. I do not know what their current plans are. I know that they are they need expansions as well as we need expansions. So, but we'll try to navigate that through Lori.
Please, yeah.
I'm a former principal. All transparency here, and probably 20% of my students at Bradley Junior and Ocoee were great students. To turn them away would have impacted us academically, but also would have impacted us athletically. I named family after family after family from Stewart Park that came to my school. This has been a historical factor. Some of our state championship players were city kids. So with city and county, we talk about city and county being together and working together. It's worked very well with this open policy. So as a principal, I appreciated that. One of the worst decisions I ever made was when a superintendent told me I could not take a young man. I did not take him. He went over to the city and was a great football player and an academic student that I'd love to have had. So as a principal, I love that. And I think that's been a very balancing thing for our school. The other question I'd like to make sure we have covered here, this will take care of our overcrowded conditions at this stage, correct?
Yes, sir.
This movement that we're doing here.
And Parkview will relieve Michigan Avenue and Oak Grove.
Right. So overall, for the next 2.5, 3 years, we will be stable. We will be building for that stability.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr.
And
Chairman.
just to kind of swing back around to Mr. Alford, across the whole district, we did look at the number of out of zone, not in any particular school. We had about 1,200 city students in our school system. I do want to say, even when Christopher was in school, he would have been considered a city resident, and he was at Bradley Central High School. So,
Oh, I was city, and my youngest last year went to Walker Valley. But I guess, the elephant in the room or whatever is the city over the last, 2 years has annexed thousands of acres, and they've got development going on, and we see the houses going up. And as a city person, I guess, what have they done to make sure that their infrastructure is in place? I appreciate all the hard work. You guys have been at this growth plan and study for a year.
yes, we have.
So we've done our homework, and we're not time, but the city has done all this annexation, and they've got, I've heard some numbers, don't hold me to it, but hundreds and hundreds of houses being built over by Parkview. I mean, literally, we were at the fire station the other day looking across the street, and we saw bulldozers and stuff going on over there. And as they pull out of their subdivision, they're going to be looking at their city. They're going to be looking at Parkview. I mean, so logic dictates, that. So, but like you said, and this is it's worth repeating, is that Hopewell is not just an expansion, but an overhaul of just it's time for it's time for it to get some love and attention. We'll call it that, right? All right.
One more,
At a cost,
one more.
please.
You made my point.
Well, how about that?
Parkview, Prospect, Hopewell, out over that property in the city. Those kids are gonna pull straight across, like you said, right into a county school. Thank you.
We'll be talking.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, at this time, anything else? Susan, you got anything? We're going back to our agenda. Other business, I think we just knocked that out of the park. Communication from the audience. Is there anyone who would like to be recognized for 5 minutes? Seeing none. All right. Our next meeting will be the budget hearings at 11 o'clock. We'll still stick to 1 o'clock, but we are going to add that other piece to it. Mayor, got anything? Anything? All right, and you got the list of who we're going to invite. If there's nothing